Stu on the mic, broadcasting through the night, talking F1, getting every fact kind of right. From the grid to the finish, they're all in. Top Step Podcast, let the race begin.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and whatever else, wherever else you are in the world, listening to and tuning into the best Formula One podcast in the world. It is, of course, the Top Step. The Top Step with Rhyss and Stu. G'day, mate. You better take over. I can't talk.
Hey, mate. How you doing? Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 26.
26.
26, yeah.
What can you do as a 26-year-old that you couldn't do as a 25-year-old?
Not a great deal.
Not a great deal.
Not a great deal. Is that where it flips when you start to do big adult things?
I was just thinking about that. I'm like, is that the age that I realised that cars are a bottomless pit of terrible, terrible return on investment? And I was thinking, no, that's not it. That was like last year.
I was going to say, I still haven't figured that out yet, or I have and just chose to ignore it anyway. But no, episode 26, post Mexico Grand Prix. I need to start the show off right because there's lots for us to go through.
Oh, I need that. It's a long day. It's been a long, long day.
My screen's going to need to be cleaned.
Well, I guess that's a good end to a day for anyone. Mexico.
What a wild weekend it was.
Did you catch any of the footage of the crowds in Mexico? There were a lot of punch-ons in the crowd.
I didn't catch any of those punch-ons.
And all I could think of is there's been one too many Coronas with no lemon in the sun. And it's just led to fisticuffs.
They've gone a bit sour.
There was an image of a guy getting around, looked like he had his ear cut off. Like, just literally blood everywhere. Sorry if you've got a soft stomach or you're eating while you're listening to this, but like, it's an afternoon race and violence.
Yeah.
For a minute there.
It's not a Vegas midnight race where you think they've been on the Terps all day and night, but
I'm pretty sure that I saw Jacinta Allen in the crowd trying to peddle some bins for them to put their weapons into.
Okay.
99, she was a new revenue scheme that she was going. Anyway, we don't talk about politics on this podcast, but what a race! What a weekend! An absolutely dominant performance from Lando Norris. The boos we will talk about, and that of course was a joke, but he absolutely smashed it this weekend.
Oh, absolute phenomenal weekend for Lando. Amazing qualifying, amazing race. Fantastic stuff that you'd expect to see, obviously, for someone fighting for the championship. So it was really good. I know that we've sort of called out the uncertainties in the past in terms of his reliability and the way his confidence is, but no, he did not put a foot wrong.
Absolutely gone.
I do just want to say before we move past the crowd, I did see a lone George Russell in the crowd wearing a wrestling mask whilst his car was getting driven in free practice. And he took a selfie. He was in a wrestling, full face mask and the Mercedes jacket up. So it was in incognito mode, but I just imagine he posted it on his Instagram and socials and stuff like that. Just imagine the bloke sitting next to him or in front of him seeing that later on going, hang on a second. I was literally sat next to George Russell all through free practice. And I thought that was really cool because I didn't think George Russell had that sort of thing in him, to be honest. I thought he would have been in there in the cold baths or getting his nails done or something before the race. So it was really cool to see him out and about in the crowd doing something a little bit spontaneous and really cool.
Did he look like the wrestling character in Minions 3?
I was going to say he looked like Nacho Libre.
Nacho Libre. Oh, a bit of Jack Black. Yeah, fair enough.
But yes, he did also look like the wrestler in the Minions movie.
I saw Alonso as well walking down the grid wearing a wrestling mask. So it's
Pit Viper over the top.
Yeah.
There's a bit of fun stuff going on, which I really, really enjoy seeing.
No, it was good. It was good. It reminded me a little bit of the Lego race, which of course is still probably one of the funnest things I've seen Formula One do. But yeah, totally dominant weekend from Lando, getting the job done, and as a result of it, taking the lead in the Drivers' Championship by 1 point over his teammate, and who had a difficult weekend for the second weekend in a row. But I think fought back well in the race, given his speed differential throughout pretty much the whole weekend.
Yeah, and there's been a lot, and obviously I go deep into some rabbit holes into the conspiracy side of things, but there's a lot of people talking about the sandbagging of the car and the issues that they think that McLaren's put on his car. But I did go back and through because I did have a thought. Now, Piastri did struggle at the tail end of the season last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've got it written down here. He came 8th last year, and this was after, his first race win seasons, and he was leading with Lando and things like that. So we had Lando Norris in P2 last year and Oscar down in 8th. So it may not just the tail end of the season last year, he was down for the last few races. He was quite down there. So it may just be that this track style suits Lando more than it suits Oscar, because that's what we saw last year, remembering he is still only in his 3rd season of Formula One.
Yeah, and to be fair, the tail end, it sounded like it was much stronger than it probably was. The tail end of last year, McLaren struggled. They in total, they didn't. I don't think they won a race, or they might have won one race last year in the tail end of the year. So in terms of the run at home for them, they didn't finish on the podium in Brazil, which of course was that heinous weather event where it bucketed down and then didn't, and then did, and then didn't. In Vegas, not on the podium. Oscar finished 3rd in Qatar.
And I think
and
Abu
Norris,
Dhabi, Lando won the last race of the season when they took out the constructors' title.
And as you've quite rightly pointed out, in Mexico last year, the Lando finished 2nd, but Oscar finished 8th. So it's not a track that necessarily suits him or the car. I think the sandbagging, look, as you say, it's a tinfoil hat thing. It absolutely is. There is no way that any team would risk losing a driver like Oscar on the back of deliberately sabotaging or slowing the car down, because it's equally there's no guarantee that Lando's going to win. So you're disabling your own team.
So this is also coming from people that have been hard on Lando all season. So the opportunity to really ride that home at the end here would have been very open for me, just to slam him, saying that they've turned this power unit up and they've smashed Oscar, but it's just not. No. P3 was Oscar's greatest finish from this point in at Qatar, like you did say. Everything else, I think he got an 8th, a 7th, and a 10th. So it may just literally be that these last few tracks, like, even Max has his track that is not all that winning in comparison to the others. So they just might not suit Oscar, which is, I think, what we're definitely seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Lando finished 2nd here last season. So, it's not a given, and it's certainly not a case of, I think, anything other than, just as you say, tracks that they struggle at. Of course, we do head to Brazil next, which Max won last year. In fact, Max won 2 of the last 4 races of the season last year at Brazil and Qatar.
That was going to be my next comment. Yep.
But it was in the filthy rain in Brazil, so we'll see what happens there for Max. But it's really, really well poised as we get towards the end of the season. George Russell, the only errant result there, winning at the Pig at Las Vegas. So positioned well, but we are straying from our purpose here, which is to have a look at the Mexican Grand Prix. And as we've spoken about McLaren, tough weekend. There's a couple there who had exceptional weekends, which was surprising. Should we kick it off as we always do? Let's have a quick look at qualifying.
So we'll have a quick breakdown of the race. So I hijacked that. I heard some words and ran away with them.
No. I love it. I love it when we go on our random pathways. That's when we get the best stuff. So, look, qualifying really took its standard form, so we won't spend too long on it. 16th through 20th, you had Bortoleto, Albon, Gasly, Stroll, and Colapinto. Probably the only surprise there is Albon, who for the 2nd successive weekend in a row struggled a lot. So coincidental that it's been both at quite hot circuits as well. So but Carlos Sainz not struggling with those same problems. Lawson, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Ocon, and Tsunoda getting into, or eliminated, I should say, in Q2.
Ocon was the big surprise there for me.
Yeah, you would normally expect him to be down the bottom.
Yeah, no, big time.
And then in terms of other surprises, not quite yet, but Ola Behrman finishing inside the top 10. Hadjar, a little bit of a return to form for him getting into Q3. He's missed the last couple. Piastri, the big surprise, down in 8th. Carlos Sainz, who did perform well in Mexico last year, up in 7th. Antonelli in 6th. That's his strongest performance for a little while too. With Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc, and of course Lando Norris blowing everyone out of the water by nearly 4/10 on his final lap. I heard him describe it as a blur, which is an appropriate thing. It is amusing to hear. I heard Kurun Chandok say he's never done a lap that was a blur. Because he's never done a lap that's that good that you don't remember how or when or what you were doing. You just did the lap. Yeah.
And that's what I was saying before about, Lando's form. Like we were questioning it and seeing him come out of the car and even at the end, like solid lap. He was like, oh, that was a good lap. It was just everything worked and he's stuck and his head was obviously in the right place. So props to him for pulling that out of the bag and delivering when he needed to.
Absolutely harsh critics we are when he doesn't do it, but equally supportive commentators we are when he absolutely delivers, and he did. So well done again to him.
Was there any other big surprises for you in the top 10 in Q3?
What have I missed? Now I've got to go back and have a look.
No, not at all. I'm just asking the question because I was massively surprised with Hamilton. I was very, very surprised with Hamilton's qualifying performance in the Ferrari.
Third, yes, but not inside the top 10. I mean,
Yeah.
it's literally par for the course at the moment. And you called it, I think, 2 shows ago when you said basically we've got 8 mainstays or maybe 7 mainstays, and then it's the bottom 3 positions that sort of shift around a little bit. The Hulk not doing as well as he has done in past weeks, but we know that Gabriel Bortoletto doesn't necessarily qualify as well, but races pretty well. So Ollie Behrman's been in and out. So for me, it's really just that mix that you picked on. Oscar's obviously the big surprise down in 8th, and he really struggled right throughout the whole qualifying session. So
I think at the end of Q1, he was in the elimination zone until right near the the last lap that he put in. So
yeah, and punched into 7th, I think he did.
Yeah, which isn't something that we've sort of seen him struggling with.
So no, not really. I see what you're saying or hear what you're saying about Lewis, but it's been building there at Ferrari. You could hear, I think we spoke about it last week, that the language between them now is much more common. He's getting the information that he needs, albeit they were a little bit poor on some of the communication with him during the race, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the team, it's starting to gel, and I think we saw over this weekend as well that the contest for Charles and Lewis about who's the number 1 driver in that team is well and truly alive, and probably is going to be a more difficult beast to manage next year when there's a new car that he's had some input into developing. So no, I wasn't as surprised as you.
No, yeah, okay, no. Cool.
No, I'm on the Lewis train. He's got over. He's integrated into the team.
Yeah,
I think he's finally there.
I was excited to see it. I thought it was coming. I just was still with people around him. Our qualifying Max, obviously our qualifying Oscar. That's a pretty big feat. So
100%. It was. So into the race. Now we've pulled a number of things out here that we want to have a chat about. The first one obviously is that race start. What did you make of it? There was lots of or a little bit of 4 wide action. Max got an amazing start. The Ferraris were battling one another, not worrying about anybody else, and the Lando just buggered off into the distance.
It was bound to happen. So just remembering the issues, like the race with was it Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez a couple of years ago, where Perez was in that position that sort of Max was in, and then ended up in the middle and got sandwiched and got taken out. So they spoke about it in being P3 where Lewis started as one of the greatest places to start because you get the double sort of drag train coming into the corner, but then 3, 4 wide don't really go into one all that well, which we did see again. I was happy at that point. I was happy that there was no penalties because I think like Charles Leclerc, I think what Charles did to Lewis was dirty. I'm going to say that. I think running off into the grass like he did and sort of getting away from it and popping out back in front and then giving the position back to Lando, he didn't need to go where he did. I think he could have stayed and played a little bit better, but I think he did Lewis a bit dirty there in terms of that. He was about the only one that I sort of saw, but I was happy to see that no one got penalties from it and everyone figured themselves out. Leclerc gave the position back. The issue that Max should have given George the position back, I thought was just bullshit. But the start was wild and it was exciting stuff. It was really, really good.
Yeah, no, definitely. The start of the race, Simon, I'm with you. I'm glad there was no penalties there whatsoever. And to be fair, I think the only penalty that could have been given was to Leclerc, but Ferrari aren't going to protest, Leclerc against Hamilton and try and get that redressed. It did surprise me that Red Bull didn't, because he would have, been given a penalty that probably would have dropped him back behind Max, or way further actually with the field compressed. And the issue there, as you said, is that he drove so long, so far off the track that he ended up in front of Lando, who was not even involved in any of this part. He got a great start, great second phase to his start, and he was off in the distance. So it was surprising. Of course, what wasn't surprising was basically immediately the 5 lights illuminate and go out, and George Russell is already on his radio complaining about Max, even though he hasn't done anything yet, and asking somebody to investigate something. He is a whinger.
Oh, big time.
I haven't got a new nickname for him yet, but we'll get there. When we're developing our own lexicon and nicknames for a lot of these drivers, but he is such a whinger. If he spent,
I'm just going to call him Whinge Russell. Like that's where it's at. There's no creativity needed. It's just going to be Whinge Russell from this point on. Because
my god,
I did say we'll catch space on this in a bit, but I was going to give him a W in the Rhys Rankson just for whinge.
It is. He needs to the FIA at the end, start of the race, the ambulance is behind them, the medical card, the wambulance needs to be there as well, just to help pick George up on his way through. He's having the biggest whine of his life about Max Verstappen coming back onto the track. Max was well and truly basically past him, and he got pushed off the track by 2 Ferraris. George wasn't even involved.
I was going to say, George, he'd already passed George. So regardless of that, he give the position, he'd already passed you on the track. He didn't leave the track and gain an advantage. He left the track and got a disadvantage because he would have probably been past Hamilton if the kerfuffle hadn't have happened. So the issue to me would have stemmed forward. Like any concerns to me would have stemmed from either Max and Lewis, and George was car lengths behind.
Just a spectator in the background,
trying to pick up crumbs.
So again, we'll touch on George in a minute on probably one of the more exciting parts of the race. But so we get through that first phase of the race. As I said, Lando's off in the distance and literally does not look back. Finally, perfect pit stops for McLaren. I think his was 2.4 seconds or something like that. So very, very good pit stop again, and he's off, and we didn't see him again until the end of the race. But Max was pushing hard and Hamilton was struggling. So, of course, remembering that Max started on the medium compound, so did Yuki Tsunoda. Everyone else in that top group started on the soft tyre, which was the better tyre for the race. And we keep seeing that in these hot races. I'm actually really surprised how long it lasts and how much better it is than the medium. In my mind, the logic of it would be that a hard compound tyre would last the best in hot conditions, but obviously a soft gives more grip but shorter wear life. But they all started on the soft except for Max, and
the medium grip level was horrible in comparison. In the heat and you would expect the medium to be able to run a whole lot longer than it did in the heat cycle and contain grip, but we saw Max Tokyo drifting it in several corners just with his medium tires. Obviously, it was very easy to spot when everyone else around him was on softs and had some grip. But Max just doing Max things, obviously, and drifting his way around at the start there.
But we also saw then that when Lewis had that drop off in temperature, whether it was a drop off in grip, whether it was from following Charles and the added heat that comes from that, when Max finally got into DRS, how much more aggressive he could be on the medium tire against the soft when he was the chasing driver. Of course, until he locked up. And then that for me was, one of the more exciting moments of the race. And I wanted to draw your attention to my driver of the round, which was Ollie Behrman, and how he handled himself when that whole event took place.
Fernando Alonso level maturity that boy pulled off in that race. You don't see, and I know what you're going to say next, but I just haven't seen that level of maturity from some of these rookie drivers, and not putting any shade on any of them. This was just next level. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, of course, we're talking about the bit where both Lewis and Max were racing. Max and Lewis basically nearly touched and then went off the track again. George spilt his tea, and Ollie just sat back and watched it all happen and then drove basically through everyone and up into fourth position, where he was able to obviously, manage the best result so far of his career, and not the highest result of a rookie this season, but second highest.
But also equaling Haas's best ever result.
Of course.
Like, just seeing him hang for that, what would have felt for him like a minute, but seeing him hang for that second just to see where everyone was going meant he got a better acceleration out of the corner than everyone else because they were coming off the grass and sideways and stuff. But then he said got a better acceleration out of the corner, could see where everyone was going, and just dialed them around them like they were, playing like in a mini go-kart track.
Yeah, absolutely. So he did a really, really great job there. And it leads into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which was the ensuing penalties that came, or penalty, I should say, that came out of that incident. So, of course, we're talking about Lewis Hamilton, and we've touched about the penalties and the level of the penalties a couple of times across this year, and more so the inconsistencies in application. And I just wanted to let's exclude for a moment. Let's pretend for a moment that the driver's briefing hasn't occurred, and therefore the runoff area of the track is literally just don't get an advantage if you do redress. How do you feel in line of the other 10-second penalties we've seen throughout the season so far? How do you think this one sits?
I do believe that there should have been a penalty, and not even because just the advantage that he gained by not doing what was told, what was asked of him. 10 seconds is nuts. In what we've seen other 10-second penalties for, and let's talk about Max's double 10-second penalty at Mexico last year. I think that was at Mexico last year.
Yes, it was. Impressive.
It's nuts. There was no contact, no damage, no risk of injury, nothing like that. A 5-second penalty, I think, because the advantage as well was 2 seconds. I think he put himself ahead from not doing that. I think a 5-second penalty would have sort of brought him back about to where he would have been if he was on the track. A 10-second penalty is not okay. I don't believe it's okay, and I don't believe it's inconsistent and in line with everything else that we've seen.
So you knew I was going to agree with you. That's why I asked you the question. But the thing that really gets me about it is I don't think he gained a huge advantage at all. And the only thing he didn't do, so the reason he actually got the penalty is not for gaining an advantage, but it's for not, which is why I framed the question I did. He got it for not following the instructions of the race director, which is to not mow the grass and to effectively drive around on the bitumen apron around the outside of the track to rejoin. Now, he didn't rejoin unsafely, and I don't fully understand why they have that ruling. It's potentially because of the heat and potentially for grass fires is the only thing I could think of.
So I'm just gonna check you there for a second before we go.
Okay.
I
Okay.
actually believe that he was handed a 10-second penalty for gaining a lasting advantage. I'm almost certain that they dropped, and I just want to do some fact checking. I thought they dropped the penalty for not following the procedure, but he got one for gaining a lasting advantage by leaving the track.
But what advantage did he gain?
Well, I think it was I think because he was suddenly 2 seconds ahead from Max.
Yeah,
Like out of the thing.
So then let's play this out. If that's the case, so I hadn't heard that. I had heard that it was because of him not following the race director's instructions.
So they originally, hang on,
Have you got the FIA ruling?
Facts kind of right. I've got Hamilton assessed Mexico City GP. Lewis Hamilton has handed a 10-second penalty for gaining a lasting advantage by leaving the track following a close quarters battle with Max Verstappen at the Mexico Grand Prix. So they canned the not following race procedure, which I think is where they should have, if anything, given a 5-second penalty for.
Right. Okay. So if that's the case, then a 10-second penalty is obscene.
Yeah. Yes.
It's actually worse,
big time,
than what I had thought that it was for.
Yep.
Because he didn't gain that advantage at all. I just can't see how him and he lost a position for starters, and he ended up being passed by Max anyway. So what lasting advantage did he actually get for doing that? And I was going to say the answer that is none. So it's even worse.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if they're going to give a penalty, it should have been in the driver's briefing. You were told to drive around these markers and go down the escape road and get back onto the track. That's what they should have followed through with, because that I can at least make sense of. But gaining a lasting advantage, I think it was 2 seconds, which then ended up getting eaten up very quickly anyway. So by the time he got the penalty, the advantage was gone.
Yeah, because Max had already got past him, and Ollie was obviously off in the distance as well. So then I bring into more question. I was going to say during the race when this all happened, Lewis got quite heavy, not quite heavy. He got a little bit heated, as all the drivers do, about why he'd received a penalty, how unfair it is, how there wasn't a penalty applied to anyone else. Which, in the context of what you've just explained to me, I completely get. I thought he was just misinformed. So the Ferrari engineer had come across the radio and basically told him he got 10-second penalty for gaining an advantage. But at the time, I believed, and the commentators had also made mention of the fact that it wasn't for that; it was for not following the race director's instructions. So
see, none of this got cleared up in a timely manner. None of this was worked out in a timely manner. It was one of those things that everything had surpassed, and then it had come up, and that had been canned, and this was given a penalty for this, and by that stage, it really should have been like, well, he didn't get an advantage. Let's just leave that alone, like everything else in the race.
So going back then to the way other teams have handled this in the past, if they thought there was a question around whether or not he would get penalised, and understanding that I don't think we've seen too many penalties shy of 10 seconds this season. There's a couple of 5-second penalties that have been handed out, but they're mostly post-race penalties, not live penalties. Why didn't Ferrari go, cool, we think you're going to get a penalty. It's early enough in the race. Drop back 2 places. You won't lose 10 seconds. You might lose 2 or 3 seconds, and we'll adjust our pit strategy to fit it.
And that was the question that I was sort of left with, is the management of it. And I don't think they told Lewis in due time that he was being investigated. I think if they had have, and obviously we don't hear it, obviously we might not hear everything that goes through the driver's radio, but if they had have told him previously, look, this is what's getting looked at. You came out 2 seconds ahead, just, lift and coast through this corner and give up that time back.
Yeah. No, well, look, that makes it even worse, and I feel bad for Lewis, because I think he was hard done by with the 10-second penalty anyway. But I think it's made worse by the way that's played out, because they were terribly slow all week, all race long at investigating any incident. I don't think we had an answer to the race start incident until probably lap 15 or 20.
There was like 5 other investigations going on before we even got an answer for the turn 1 incident. So
it really highlights, I think, an overall poor weekend for the judiciary or for the race managers, for operations, whatever you want to call it. Did you see the footage of our mate Liam Lawson avoiding a steward? Avoiding a marshal, two marshals running across the track during a hot track. So when the race is live.
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea? Surely you've said before, timing monitors. Like, look at the timing monitors.
The data is there. The data. I just want to say that Red Bull got a fine for someone entering through the grid on the warm-up lap, and there was nowhere near cars, but the FIA handed a penalty to Red Bull, that we spoke about in last week's episode, for someone coming back into the pit lane after the warm-up lap had started. What the hell were they thinking? The marshals being there, and did the FIA hand themselves $100,000 penalty for allowing the marshals to be on the circuit? It makes no sense.
What were they doing?
I don't know.
Were they picking up debris?
And that's, I'm going to touch base on that as well. Actually, we probably can jump into.
Yeah, let's talk about it now.
Yeah, let's talk about it now.
Because it leads into, I think we're going where we're going to go. Like, why was he on the track? Or they? I don't know if it was a he or she. Why was the marshal on the track at all?
They were on the track for, I don't know.
Was it to pick up some damage wing? Because there were cars that had sustained some damage in the start. Did something fly? Like, I couldn't see anything on the footage. All I saw was a person running across the track and Liam Lawson avoiding them at Mark 8.
Yeah, so it was literally just debris. That's all it is was to pick up debris. There was no yellow, no caution, no nothing, which is ridiculous seeing what we had happen so late in the race.
Yeah, so we'll dive straight into that. We're going to talk about it later, but we'll do it now. So this is all part of this declining weekend that the stewards and race control had at Mexico. So we've started out really, really well with them not handing down any penalties because of the race start and letting racing be racing. Then we get this 10-second penalty from Lewis. And then we get to the end of the race where what can only be described as a slow motion, slowest corner of the track spin occurs. And
not just the slowest corner of this track, one of the slowest tracks on the Formula One, slowest corner on the Formula One calendar.
Carlos Sainz has a single car incident where he parks the right-hand rear corner of his Williams into a tyre barrier at 40 k's an hour and manages to then drive off into a protected area. Now, he doesn't get 100% of his car into or in behind the barrier, but I would say 80% of the car, slow speed corner, and way, way beyond the sort of the high risk area of the apex, particularly given that it's such a slow corner. He must have had a puncture or something for it to happen to him. I haven't seen that part of it. But he basically gets off the track. Now, this is on lap 67 of 71 laps. And you think, surely not. But no, hold my beer, roll in a virtual safety car when Max is within a tissue of Charles Leclerc and will just wreck the back end of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't usually get angry and throw something, but I threw my phone. I was mad. We had an opportunity to have some amazing, phenomenal racing. Last 2 laps. We've watched a 20-second gap come down from Lewis on Leclerc. We're watching Piastri catch. We've watched...
From Max on Leclerc?
No, we've watched I'm going to absolutely butcher everything right now. So we've watched the 20-second gap come down from Max on
Max
Leclerc
right.
to come down to 1 second.
Mhm.
We've watched Piastri get his gap down on Bierman.
Mhm.
So we've got 2 absolute make or break laps where we've got current championship leader, 3rd position, going for higher points finishes, which would keep everything closer. Some absolute phenomenal racing is about to be have. Both of these guys have DRS. And then we get a virtual safety car. And they don't do anything with Sainz's car.
Not at all.
They
Just stayed there.
Like, it's just, I do believe it was pushed maybe 6 more meters or something just to be completely behind the AMCO. They didn't do anything to his car. Then halfway through the last lap, we're free to race when everything's disabled and everything is done. We were absolutely robbed. We've had a crazy start to the race. Everything sort of stabilized in the middle. And then we're building and we're building and we're building for some phenomenal racing virtual safety car. I can't explain it. I don't understand why we get that. And we've got marshals running on the track that Liam Lawson almost hit.
At full race pace. It was
the downfall
disturbing.
of that is correct, and it just got worse and worse and worse.
Which, speaking of it getting worse and worse and worse. So, by the way, if you are the Ferrari fan that managed to hack,
do you reckon someone called it in?
Yeah, if you are the Ferrari fan that managed to hack into the FIA and call that virtual safety car, let us know in the comments. We'll keep you totally anonymous, we swear. Let's we normally would do Rhys Ranksome here, but I want to get into this. We'll come back to Rhys Ranksome.
Keep the train running. Let's go.
The most disgusting piece of fan abuse I have seen since Jim Richards called everyone a pack of assholes after winning Bathurst when the race got called off because it was torrential. The worst fan behaviour I can remember in a long, long, long time. Lando Norris smashed everyone this weekend, and for his reward is being booed by the crowd in Mexico because they called a virtual safety car, which made him only finish slightly slower, but slightly not as far in front. What was he, 30 seconds? You told me before the show, the greatest winning margin this season. So he only would have won by more. But
if anything,
Mexico.
though, he would have won by the same margin because all it does is reduce everyone to a certain time delta. So if anything, he would have still finished 30 seconds ahead. Nothing was given to Lando this weekend. He went to Mexico and said, "Screw this, I'm taking it all," and he did it. He took it all. Absolutely. I'm drinking this fishbowl, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Give me some nachos.
And he did that, and he drove phenomenally. And I understand he was out on his own, but he earned that. He got pole position. He got smashed around 4/10 in pole, 30 seconds ahead in the race, drove away with it, no contention, did everything that he needed to do to secure the lead in the Drivers' Championship right now. No one handed that to him. And to have that response sucks. And I don't care. I don't care if it was George Russell. I'd still say the same thing. I don't care who it is. That is not sport. It is not being a fan of the sport. We've just had a late world title change with 3 races to go. We've got a massive fight on our hands with potentially 3 people fighting for the world title. Fact's kind of right.
4 races to go.
4 races to go. We've got 3 people potentially fighting for the World Drivers' Championship. This is going to be a crazy, crazy run to the end. Lando didn't put a step forward, and that's the response he got. It left me shattered for him, like
shocked and dismayed.
Literally, and it might have been. There's no excuse for it either. Like there's absolutely no excuse for it.
What they needed to do was to get Liam to go and do a parade lap and give that greeting that he gave to Fernando Alonso at the Mexican GP last year. Give him the one-fingered salute on the way around the track because that's what it deserved. It was appalling behaviour from the Mexicans, which continues on probably. It was probably started by that guy that had his ear cut off.
I was going to say,
He was probably a bit angry and just started booing. So,
it was a Lando fan that cut his ear off, is what you're saying, and he just retaliated.
I think Mexico need to check themselves.
Yeah, because they're going to wreck themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very, very bad way to conclude. And I literally was thinking, is there anything that I can think of that Lando's done in Mexico that would warrant that kind of outcome? And I can't think of anything. So
I did the same thing. So
it's not like he hit Checo. He's not even there.
I was going to say,
he was at my couch in his jocks waiting for his Cadillac to turn up.
Contract to start. I was seriously thinking the same thing. And as big of Mexico got behind Sergio Perez big time. And as you would, only Mexican driver on the Formula One grid next year is going to be nuts. If he had have taken Sergio out the last lap when they were fighting for first and second, you would kind of go, okay, the response is crap, but okay, I get it. They were rooting for someone, but he didn't do anything. He was nowhere near anyone. He could have stopped, had a cup of tea, kept driving, and still been fine.
Yeah, it baffles me. So
just crap.
Anyway, we'll use that as a perfect segue to get into Rhyss ranks 'em. Let's have a look at what you made of this weekend as far as drivers are concerned.
Starting from bottom to top, now we do have Liam Lawson, Nico Hulkenberg, unfortunately, Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz all retired. So that was
lucky.
Pretty heartbreaking.
Now I understand why you don't grade retired drivers, because it means you don't have to give the Hulk an F.
Absolutely. You will never receive an F on my half. Franco Colapinto, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, just Ds.
Alpine race this weekend, did they?
They did. And I do want to say something as well. When are we going to see the Newey magic? Because whatever is happening
next year
at Aston Martin right now, isn't it? And if they're going to keep Fernando Alonso, or they keep telling him next year, they need to pull something out of the bag next year big time. Because to have him in the state that he's in this season is just, it's not okay, because most of the time it's not a Fernando fault. Anyway, moving on. Isaac Hadjar, Alexander Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda I've given C's. Gabriel Bortoleto I've given a B2, and only because of expectations now. He's piqued my interest. The car's obviously there, and his driving's getting quite consistent and good. So seeing him up there. Esteban Ocon as well with a B.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Again, just surprised me a lot.
I'm amazed against expectations that wasn't an A triple plus.
I can't do it. Okay. I couldn't bring myself. I couldn't actually.
It's not about being fair.
No,
absolutely
not.
It's about gut feel.
It's my ranksum, and I'll cry if I want to.
Yeah, fair enough. It is.
Lewis Hamilton, I've also given a B2. George Russell, a C.
Which stands for cry.
Cry, yep. Kimi Antonelli, a B-. Oscar Piastri, I've given a B2 as well. Again, just on expectation. Oliver Beerman, an A++. What an absolute masterpiece for Beerman. Also, with what we're talking about before, but he went wheel to wheel with Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
And drove past him. And I understand different tyre delta and everything like that, but at the end of the day, he's an ass.
Didn't he enjoy it as well?
Oh, absolutely.
He was beaming.
And seeing his family afterwards and the support, it was phenomenal. Max Verstappen, an A, Charles Leclerc, an A, and Lando Norris, an A++, clean sweeping the weekend. So I've said this probably more times than I have in my life, but that was a phenomenal drive from Lando.
It is your phrase. Not a bad one this week. Not a bad one. There's a couple in there that I think probably a little bit harsh, but and a little bit over the top. But that's fine. That's why it's called Rhyss Ranks 'Em. Let us know in the comments what you think, who you ranked, what you agree with, and what you disagree with.
I'm pretty open to feedback too. So if anyone's got any big, I don't agree with me, just comment. We'll have a gentle conversation about it.
A gentlemanly conversation.
Gentlemanly conversation, yes.
Um, so you mentioned it just before. We've got not much of the season to go, which is exciting given the rundown of where we were at. Just very, very quickly have a look at the team standings because there were some good changes as a result of this weekend. Obviously, McLaren have the team's championship all well and truly sewn up. Ferrari 356, Mercedes 355, and Red Bull 346. So the play, and by Red Bull we mean
Max Verstappen.
Red Bull, Verstappen Racing. Yuki's performances have improved actually, so we can't be as harsh about that as we have, but of course it is still a little bit of 2v1. That has very, very much tightened to the point now where it's still anybody's game for second in the Constructors' Championship.
Which
Position.
I did not think that we were going to be having that conversation at all. Would not have picked that.
It's all because of the Horner files.
Yes.
If the Horner files had not been discovered and shared, then Red Bull would still be under his tutelage and they would be further away than they are.
Oh, they would have sold and left the
absolutely,
race.
Yeah, no. So I heard it on good authority that they were going to sell the team. Williams, 111, still a fantastic outcome for them this season, no matter where they finish, given what they have done in the past. But then it gets thick again for the rest of the garagistas. Of course, Alpine in the nosebleeds, but Sauber 60, Haas 62 after the weekend, Aston Martin 69, and Racing Bulls on 72. So we've got a 12-point span amongst all those making up the places. I think Williams are probably reasonably safe in fifth. But you just don't know with 4 rounds to go and 5 races left.
And all it takes is a good double points finish weekend from any of those sort of few teams where the other teams only get 1 or no points scored, and then everything flips.
Yeah, and in that, guys, to our surprise, to be saying it, Kick Sauber probably more likely than Haas to get a double points finish. And Racing Bulls are there ahead of Aston Martin, probably getting a double points finish. So I think for me, it's between.
Hang on, does Aston Martin have 2 drivers?
No, they don't. And in fact, you'd argue on most weekends at the moment they don't have any. So the Racing Bulls and Kick Sauber, I think, are probably the 2 to watch there to contest that 6th position. So still a battle for 2nd and 3rd, still a battle for the Garagistas below that. And there's plenty to see.
Massive benefits finishing in that sort of 5th and 6th for these teams, especially like teams like Williams. That's going to be a phenomenal boost for them. I'm not sure what the spacing was, but I think last year they were talking about like third and 4th. It's like $100 million or something crazy.
Yeah, it's huge money.
So it is nuts, but. That does lead us into one of my favourite segments of late is Stupid is as Stupid does, mate. What have you got us at?
Well, we've actually already covered it. I wanted to have a chat about driver standings, but
sorry, mate.
No, you're right. Stupid is as Stupid does for this week goes purely to the FIA.
I didn't even say that.
For what their involvement in the weekend's racing. So
I don't even click into it now because I like the excitement of seeing it. But I should have absolutely picked that one. So,
no, and I could have played the intro. So for all those who tune in, sorry about that. But definitely Stupid as Stupid does is the probably the first and foremost is the marshal that ran across the track. Like unless you're, I don't know, Bolt or any of the Carl Lewis or any of the famous sprinters from our lifetime, I wouldn't be doing that again if I were you, no matter who asks you to do it.
So driver standings, you got some news there.
Yeah, well, so Lando moves into pole position, 1 point ahead of Oscar Piastri. Now, there'll be those of you who listen to the show who say, oh, well, you guys said that if the driver's in the lead, then they should support the driver that's in the lead in the World Championship. That is not the case when it's only 1 point. 1 point is a mistake.
It's also not the point when they haven't done it yet. So if they start to do it now, I will be pissed.
But we did say last week that we would say this irrespective of who's in the lead, that they should pick a driver. 1 point is not a driver's championship winning lead. I mean, it is. You can win a championship by 1 point. So, yeah, thank you. I get that. But not with 5 races to go still.
4.
He could lose that. There's 5 races, 4 rounds.
4 rounds. So, yes, sprint.
Because we've got a sprint. We've got a sprint race still.
Sorry.
So, it's all to play for, but Max still well and truly in the race. In fact, this weekend helps him more than anything else because he gets closer to Oscar and not as far away from Lando.
I'm glad you mentioned that we did say that they should favour who's in front, but we need to remember that for majority of the year, Oscar has been in front and there's been absolutely no favouritism. So that's what I'm saying. If they do it now, it's too late.
Oh, absolutely.
And then it becomes the Lando, what were people calling it? The Lando's time or whatever it was that they were saying. It's
Lando's time.
It's Lando's time. So that narrative that they've chosen him and they've done everything they can to sort of push Oscar out, but which I don't think is the case. But I feel like if they do it now and start playing favourites, then there's bigger issues there than what even we thought.
Yeah, so particularly in light of what we were talking about at the top of the show as well, the next 4 races are strong races for Max, strong races for the Red Bull car as well. So it's definitely not a foregone conclusion that this title is over. As I think Max said when he was asked yet again by another reporter again about his chances of winning the title, other than his brilliant answer of, well, it's a 50-50, maybe I will, maybe I won't. A puncture, it was very amusing actually, because he went right through a list that included he could slip and break his leg.
I could fall. I could fall in the toilet.
I could fall over in the shower. I could break my leg. But there's any number of things that obviously could stop it from happening. But for us, pure Formula One fans, it's great to see that the gap maintains. His chances are still there to win. Charles Leclerc is still in with a sniff.
Really?
After a second place, he is still in with a sniff of winning the driver's title because he outfinished Oscar.
Yep.
It would take the Bradbury of all Bradburys for it to happen across the next 5 races, but he's still there for all you Ferrari hopefuls. But which also means George is still in the race, which is really a little bit frustrating. Can you imagine him as world champion? He would be so insufferable. It would be terrible. I would probably switch off. But it's still all there for the top 3. So
we'd start a GT3 podcast next season,
mate. It's unbelievably interesting. The only other one thing that I do want to point out about the driver's standings is that after more rounds, more time in the seat, allegedly more support, Franco Colapinto has the same number of points as Jack Doohan does. So with that in mind, we've got a little bit of a break now until we go to Brazil. So Brazil is on the 8th to the 10th of November. We will do a pre-Brazil short show just to get in our predictions and any news that happens between now and then. And then, of course, as we mentioned, we've got the run-in after Brazil, 2 weeks break, and then we've got back-to-back to bring home this 2025 season and find out who takes home the Drivers' World title. I hope we do. Imagine if we don't.
We're just not going to watch that race.
Get to round 24 and be like, sorry, guys, there was no race. We don't know who won. Enjoy. But find out who is going to be the 2025 Drivers' World Champion. And it is well and truly in play. So that just about brings to a close the 26th installment of the Top Step podcast. Mate, thank you for joining us. Thank you for making time.
Thank you.
Busy afternoon. And as always, if you do like what we do, jump on our socials on TikTok, YouTube, and on Spotify. Have a listen to the podcast. Please comment away. We would love more comments to engage with on the pod. Big shout out to Jamie, who always drops a hello, and I love what you do. Thanks, mate. We appreciate the support.
Appreciate it.
But as always, we appreciate everyone who tunes into the show. And this has been the Top Step with Stu
and Rhyss.
I was about to say your name again. I'll get over it one day. Enjoy. Have a good week.
See ya.
Well, that's a checkered flag. We're at the end of the race. Thanks for tuning in. You kept up the pace. Rhyss and Stu are signing off today, but don't forget